It is another somber day here in Uvalde. 21 crosses stand behind me, dedicated to the lives lost Tuesday morning. And as the close-knit community here mourns, local funeral homes are offering their services to the families for free. This comes as we learn more about the 19 children and 2 teachers who were murdered that day. ABC's Maria Villarreal is here in Uvalde, Texas, with me tonight with more.
We're gonna pray that
the small community of Uvalde shattered by tragedy, but determined to pick up the pieces, honoring the lives taken from families too soon. We're learning more about those innocent souls lost. 10-year-old JC Carmela Luevanos and 11-year-old Jayla Nicole Silguro, cousins. Their family also losing their grandfather earlier this month. Their cousin writing, "They were loving baby angels, always had a smile on their face, just full of life. I can't believe this happened to our angels." The grandmother of victim Alicia Ramirez telling our Amy Robach what the days ahead may bring.
That's why I'm here to help my son arrange
a funeral for a 10-year-old.
When we met family members near the scene like Brandon Elrod on Tuesday, desperately looking for his daughter, the worst was feared.
We can't find my daughter.
ABC News confirming his daughter McKenna Elrod was among the victims. Her Aunt April simply calling the 10-year-old beautiful and that they are devastated. Heroic actions from inside the classroom. Surviving students said one classmate, Amarie Jo Garza, tried to call for help, dialing 911 as shots rang out before the gunman's fire turned to her. Her father speaking to our David Muir.
I mean, she was the best person that I know. Full of life, gone too soon, always smiling, very productive. She was her own self.
4th grade teacher Irma Garcia, a wife, mother, and educator for 23 years, who loved barbecue and listening to music, among those killed. Fellow teacher Eva Mireles killed trying to protect students. A relative telling ABC News Miss Mireles was both an amazing mother and hero.
She was just very adventurous and courageous. It's beyond devastating and tragic, and there are no words.
And one injured teacher, Arnolfo Reyes, now in stable condition after suffering bullet wounds to his left lung and arm, waking up in the hospital in complete panic mode, asking about the kids. Tragically, his relative and student, Ileana Cruz Torres, among those killed. Their names forever etched in the hearts of this community. Javier James Lopez, Rogelio Torres, Usaya Garcia and cousins Annabel Rodriguez and Jacqueline Jalen Cáceres, both 10 years old, were in the same class together.
Maria, thank you. And we have learned, you just heard Maria talk about Irma Garcia, one of the teachers. It's almost surreal to report this. We've learned that her husband died today of a heart attack 2 days after she was murdered in the building behind me. The grief, too much to take. We've heard about broken heart syndrome. We don't know anything about his condition leading up to this. We do know that they were sweethearts, high school sweethearts, married for 24 years. They leave behind 4 children. Mother murdered here in the school behind me. Father died today of a heart attack. It's beyond words. Terry, Kira.
And just reading about the children, their eldest completing Marine boot camp, another son attending Texas State University. They have a daughter, sophomore in high school, and their youngest, a 7th grader this year. No parents.
Brokenhearted.
Phil, Texas officials, as we all know, just gave an update during this press conference. The latest that they know wasn't very much, but they did acknowledge that initial officers did not make entry initially due to gunfire that they are receiving. Let's just update our viewers tuning in here at the half hour about what we know about the timeline now. Disappointing timeline for sure.
Yeah, well, Kira, what you just talked about is what everybody is going to be focusing on, and law enforcement officials gave us a little bit of that. We asked so many questions, they weren't ready to answer all of them, but they do say that this shooter shot his grandmother blocks away from here. She alerted authorities to it. We don't know why the school wasn't put on lockdown after that. We don't know why there was a gap of time before police got here, but when they got here, law enforcement officials tell us they took fire from the shooter, who then walked into the school, made a couple of turns down hallways, and wound up in that classroom murdering the 21 people. So there were officers here who took fire and did not follow the shooter to try to put him down and stop this from happening. So there are going to be a lot of questions. They're going to ask, why didn't they do that? Were they outgunned? Were they told to wait for somebody? We then know the shooter was inside for 40 minutes before he was finally taken out by law enforcement officers. So there are a lot more questions after that news conference than there were really answers. They gave us kind of a timeline of when he shot his grandmother, when he crashed his car, when he got to the school, but no answers really on why he wasn't confronted inside the school.
And Phil, in the wake of the shooting, I know that our team there has been speaking with families of the victims, including earlier today when Maria Selena spoke with the mother of 10-year-old victim, Rogelio Torres. Here's a little bit of what she had to say.
I have two sons. Two of my sons go to that school, but I only got one back, and then I had a niece that I picked up from the Civic Center. And I picked her up, and I just got them too. I told them, let's wait for your brother to get here. The bus, they said there's a bus coming, there's the last bus coming, and never she came. Last bus never came. I wanted to hear that my son's okay in the hospital, okay, but not dead, not passed away. Not, and that's no parent should go through that. No parent. Why would he do such thing like that to little kids that they have their whole lives ahead of them? My son had his whole life ahead of him. That's the only thing I care about was my son.
Phil, what else have we heard from families on the ground as they come to terms, if it's possible, with this?
Well, Terry, I hear that sigh in your voice, and every time I speak of this to anyone, I have that sigh as well. As a father, you can't imagine this. They say it's the cliche, it's your worst nightmare, but it really is. Talking to families, they want answers. They want answers to why police didn't go in sooner. But my colleague Maria Villarreal just spoke to the family of Tess Mata, 10-year-old girl who was killed here. And Maria sent a quote out, and I want to read this verbatim. This is what Tess's mom said. Every time we would see another mass shooting in the news, we would say that it won't happen here, that it could never happen here, and not in Uvalde. And then it did happen here, and then it happened to my daughter, and now my daughter's gone, and I will never get to hold her again. That's Veronica Mata, the mother of a 10-year-old girl. That's exactly what we all would be saying. Terry, the answer to the last part of your question is how are they beginning to cope with this? I'm not exactly sure that's happened yet. I think there's still shock in the trauma right now, just a couple of days out. I think it's going to be a while before people can even begin to process this. And then after they process it, as a father, I don't know how you go on. You need a lot of help to go on living with something like this.
It's something I'm sure that one never gets over, and those of us who don't have to face that are blessed in that way. And I want to ask about the community. This small community now working to pick up the pieces following this incident. What does it feel like there? Is there a sense of, first, the continuing changing stories of the police, the accounts of parents that they were begging police to go in and being subdued for doing that? How is the community responding at this point?
Well, I would have been doing the same thing. If I knew my child was in that school, I would have been doing everything I could to get in. And we saw the video of parents doing that and law enforcement holding them back. So yeah, there's anger and there's confusion about that part of it. As for dealing with the reality of 21 people murdered inside the school behind me, 19 of them children, 2 teachers trying to save these kids, well, the entire community is trying to help. There's counseling at the convention center for anybody who walks through the doors. 2 funeral homes are offering funeral services for free. That is certainly going to be a big burden off some of these families. And everybody is just being a good neighbor at this point in this small community. But in the end, you know these parents are going to be left, even after all the media is gone, after people stop talking about this mass shooting, these parents are going to be left there with a room left the way it was when their child, 9, 10, 11 years old, went to school and never came home. And I don't know how you deal with that, even with all the support in the world. But this community is giving that kind of support right now, and I'm sure will for the long haul.
It will. It's the latest American community to have to go through this kind of a massacre, this uniquely American plague. Phil Lipoff, thanks very much on the ground there in Uvalde.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.